Welcome to another episode of the Bandage Podcast, a weekly wrap-up of the most trending healthcare news. Each week, we'll discuss the latest in healthcare, health IT, and compliance.
In this week's episode, we discuss the nearing death of monkeypox, the pattern of tooth decay in children, and contaminated India-made cough syrup. Let's wrap things up. This is episode 158 for the week of October 24th. I'm Matt Moneypenny.
And I'm Albert Battistelli.
Before we get started, our diagnosis code of the week is Z99.89, or dependence on enabling machines and devices, not elsewhere classified.
What?
Albert, are you a machine enabler?
No. I would thought this was like something like where you're on a feeding tube or you're on like
I think you might be right.
Like where you like a breathing tube or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're depending on a machine that enables you to survive, but not elsewhere class. I don't know.
It's a tough one. I think this one is less about jokes and more about understanding what it actually means.
Right.
Which is probably something that's very many medical billers probably run into with this one. But I think you're right. I think you are right. Respiratory assist device dependence, ventilation use for central sleep apnea syndrome, dependence on biphasic positive airway pressure ventilation, dependent on continuous positive airway pressure or CPAP. So yes, you are right.
Okay.
So that is billable. We just found that out.
Hey.
I don't think this could be any kind of like, sequela, anything like that.
No.
I think it's just, hey, this is you need
sequela.
This.
Yeah, no.
So
initial encounter. There's no initial encounter here.
Yeah. Well, with that, let's get into it. First up, we've got monkeypox down the drain. Just a few months ago on this very podcast,
wow,
we talked about how the U.S. looked. We talked about how the U.S. looked like it had lost its chance to stamp out the outbreak and get cases down to zero associated with monkeypox, except for the new infections that came from abroad. Experts were worried that it was just a matter of time before the virus started spreading more widely in the U.S. Now, it's very clear that those concerns did not materialize. Some infectious disease experts are even raising the idea that the U.S. could eliminate the virus altogether. Monkeypox cases have declined since a peak in early August from 440 cases a day down to 60, and now they're the lowest they've been since June. And vaccine supply is now plentiful, even outstripping the current demand. That was very quick, I have to say.
It was fast.
Health experts attribute the success to changes in behavior among those at high risk for monkeypox and quick uptake in vaccinations. So,
nice.
I'm starting to feel now this could be because I am just a public person, right? I'm just your average American,
right?
But I'm starting to feel like people who work in the disease realm need to reevaluate when to raise the alarm.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because it's like anytime that they're like, freak out. Now they were right about COVID, but I just kind of picture that verbal meme. I picture that meme of Elmo with his hands up and the fire burning in the background.
Yes. The best meme.
I imagine that's what the disease expert's life is like every day. Right. So maybe, once it starts getting like potentially it could end up being something, then they're like, we should tell somebody about this, which they should. But at a certain point, it's like, hey, every time we're wrong about this, it just makes us seem that less more of an expert.
Right. Or, on the other side, it could be that because they made such a big deal out of it, people reacted in such a way that they curbed their behaviors, they changed things, they were quick to get vaccines because they were so worried about it getting out of control. And
that's a hot take.
So it could go either way. I don't know. I think you're right in that, it definitely did not turn out to be as awful as experts had predicted or suggested. But it could be just because they predicted that it would be awful that people took it seriously and kind of helped wipe it out. Who knows?
I took the pessimist approach.
I'm ever the optimist.
That was good. That was good. Way to open my brain into other perspectives. Albert.
Oh my goodness. Either way, glad to hear that it's going away. Bye. Bye, monkeypox.
Bye, monkeypox.
See ya. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Later, skater.
This next story has a map involved.
Whoa.
All right. The tooth connection. Brushing your teeth is essential for maintaining optimal oral health. But like most aspects of health, the full story is more complicated. Directors of the Center for Oral Health Research in Appalachia, which is part of the University of Pittsburgh School of Dental Medicine, know firsthand that inequalities exist when it comes to oral health, including in children. Some people or groups have considerably more oral health problems than others because of a combination of factors beyond personal dental hygiene. For example, people who have less formal education or lower incomes, marginalized ethnic or racial groups, and those living in more rural areas tend to have more oral health problems than others and at younger ages. Oral health includes consistent brushing and flossing, eating healthy foods such as fresh fruits and vegetables, avoiding tobacco products, and wearing mouthguards while playing certain sports. In addition to behavioral and social influences, genetic and other biological factors are also at play. For example, genes influencing taste preferences, such as those for sweet foods, are associated with cavities on certain teeth and surfaces of the teeth.
So this, wow, Kentucky. So the map we're looking at, is essentially Appalachia. No,
it is. Yes,
like 100%. It is 150%.
Yeah.
And it looks like Kentucky is really struggling with brushing their teeth.
That's pretty rough.
I'm laughing not because the fact that it's Kentucky, but the fact that so much of the issue is in Kentucky. So I feel bad for people that live in Kentucky right now.
Right.
That's all. That's all I'm saying, you know?
That's all.
But it literally is Appalachia. That's crazy. Well, you know, I feel like we're always going to have the constant battle of kids not brushing their teeth. That's just something they don't like to do.
Right.
I also wonder, now this is like kind of a tangent, but I wonder how much of an effect, you know, cartoon tropes have on kids. Like, I feel like, you know, fear of the dark. Does that happen because of cartoons and people being and like their favorite person being afraid of the dark? Or them even acknowledging the fact that the fear of the dark is something that exists? Like maybe there's an episode of like, you know, some cartoon and the main hero saves the day because he talks about how, you know, there's a fear of the dark, right? Just like how he saved the day by having someone brush their teeth or something like that. I feel like maybe that could have this opposite effect on the psychological perspective. I don't know. I'm not a childhood education expert. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. But it makes sense that education has a direct or lack of education has a direct impact on teeth health.
That's true.
Because in order to go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I just remember as a child watching Barney, and there was a whole song about brushing your teeth.
Right.
And like, oh, okay, I guess I have to watch.
And you probably still hated doing it because you were a kid.
Well, of course. But I never let the water run because that's what the song said. When you're brushing your teeth and having so much fun, never let the water run.
Right. There was also another commercial back in the day of a sink that was attached to a lake with a happy little fish. And then the kid walked into the bathroom with the sink and left it on while he was brushing his teeth, and the pond drained and the fish died. So
that's right. Too. Oh my gosh, trauma.
The trauma. So at the end of the day, 2 takeaways from the story: brush your teeth, and don't let the water run while you brush your teeth.
Right. Don't kill fish. Don't drain lakes.
Next up, cough syrup killer. India exports medicines to over 200 countries and contributes to a large generic market in the United States. Its pharmaceutical industry is one of the largest by volume and has a current turnover of $50 billion. But critics say that government oversight is sorely lacking, which can breed conditions that lead to dangerous violations. The World Health Organization linked Indian-made cough syrup to acute kidney failure, leading to the deaths of nearly 70 children in West Africa. Indian authorities shut down a factory near Delhi where the medicines were made, but it took them a full week to do so. The plant's manufacturing was suspended only after a joint investigation between the state and federal Drug regulating authorities exposed 12 violations. WHO's, or the World Health Organization's laboratory analysis said the cough syrup contained unacceptable amounts of diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol, chemicals which are often meant for industrial use. Whoa, this is kind of a big story.
It is.
The last thing you ever imagine is to have the medicine you take hurt you more so. Now, There have been cases of that over the course of time, and that's why they have symptoms and long-term symptoms and all that stuff and do those intense medical, studies. But, whoa.
Yeah, and that's scary, too, because we take medicine just trusting that, like, oh, the FDA approved this or something. Like,
again, this kind of goes back to the story that I just talked about before with diseases. If we're going to raise the alarm for diseases, and it ends up being kind of like a false alarm. And in the meantime, we have medicine, and then, medicine is found to hurt people. And these are just kind of the random off chances, right? But
sure.
To those people who are uneducated that we just talked about, look at me wrapping 3 stories together right now. Holy moly.
Yeah, this is really full circle. This is great.
So, with those people who are uneducated, who aren't already brushing their teeth, the chances of them actually taking medication, i.e. maybe vaccines for those diseases, if they become actually a huge deal, we got an issue, Albert.
We have an issue.
So, what do? We got to make sure that those manufacturers who make medicine is regulated heavily and also supervised heavily. We got to make sure we teach our kids how to brush their teeth and educate them on healthcare, and disease experts need to calm it down a little bit.
Yep. Nailed it, Matt.
Thank you. I'm not an expert, but I'm just throwing this out there. I'm just throwing things out there, I'm a man of the people.
A man of the people.
And with that, let's go to our next segment.
BREACH, Breach Patrol. It's a breach! All of the latest cybersecurity breaches.
Welcome to Breach Patrol. We talk about the latest breaches all across the world. What do we got?
My Deal needs a new cybersecurity deal. Australian online retail marketplace My Deal has confirmed that it was the victim of a data breach that exposed the data of around 2.2 million customers. The retailer has confirmed that it will be contacting all those affected by the breach via email, as well as alerting the relevant regulatory authorities and government agencies. The breach was caused by a malicious actor using a compromised user credential to gain unauthorized access to My Deal's CRM system. Customer information exposed during the cyber attack included names, dates of birth, phone numbers, and email addresses. For 1.2 million customers, the data exposed was limited to their email address. Confidential information like passport, payment card, and driver's license details is not stored by My Deal and therefore was not exposed in the hack.
Whoa. Passport and payment card information, driver's license stuff was saved. So that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
So that tells me that My Deal has a separate database that's potentially encrypted more so.
Right.
Than their database.
They're smart about where they're storing
birth and phone numbers.
Yeah, it's smart about where they're storing everything.
So that's actually a good takeaway. Is My Deal? It seems like they have dealt properly with their cybersecurity information.
Yeah, and they were proactive because they obviously were taking these steps before the breach happened to have all that stuff not stored in there. So that's smart.
So my question to you, Albert, is what can these hackers do with the information that they received?
What they get again? Email addresses,
phone numbers, dates of birth, names.
I mean, they could potentially try to steal identities or...
But how do they steal these identities? Because they need to get more information.
I don't know.
Phishing.
Oh, using the email address as a phishing scam?
Yeah, you got it right, buddy. Dang. Wow. Good job.
Wow, I'm so smart.
Yeah, that was good. So they're going to take this information and they're going to send phishing attempts to those people and try to get more information, i.e. the information that was encrypted.
It's an endless cycle. You get an email, you send an email. Come on.
Yep. That's what it is. Next up, SIM swapping suspicions. Verizon notified prepaid customers last week of a recent cyber attack that granted third-party actors access to their accounts. The attack occurred between October 6th and October 10th and affected 250 Verizon prepaid customers. Exposed information included names, telephone numbers, billing addresses, price plans, and other service-related information. Account access also potentially enables attackers to process unauthorized SIM card changes on prepaid lines, also known as SIM swapping. Unauthorized SIM card changes can allow for the transfer of an unsuspecting person's phone number to another phone. Verizon recommended affected customers secure their non-Verizon accounts such as social media, financial, email, and other accounts that allow for password resets by phone.
Wow.
Whoa, SIM swapping.
That's exciting.
What is the benefit of that?
Yeah. Well, you'd get all the access to all their information.
Well, there's that, and what's the benefit of having someone's phone number to be able to use someone's phone number?
So that you can fish?
Hey, you got it right.
Wow.
Nice. You're like a fishing phenomena.
I am a fishing expert.
Fishing I don't know. I don't have anything else that starts with an F.
Okay.
Or a PH. So I'm going to leave it at that. That was good. Good job. Pretty much they use those phone numbers to either do phishing campaigns, create phishing campaigns, or use their actual phone number for other malicious intent.
Your phone number is valuable. Guard it, people. Doing right by your patients. Keystone Health, a Pennsylvania-based team of primary care providers, disclosed a healthcare data breach that potentially impacted the PHI of over 235,000 individuals. Keystone Health discovered the security incident on August 19th and later determined that an unauthorized party had accessed files within its system between July 28th and August 19th. The files contained patient names, clinical information, and social security numbers. Keystone began mailing letters to impacted individuals and offered credit monitoring services to those who are eligible. Nice. Hate to see social security numbers in there. Hate to see clinical information in there. See, this is the opposite of the first story where they had secured that stuff. This isn't great.
This right here, I've seen a lot of breaches in my day, and by golly, this sure is a breach.
This sure is a breach. I smell it a mile away. This is a breach.
Yeah, so the other breaches we talked about didn't really contain anything that was like, oopsie. Right. I feel like everyone under the sun has had their email or password or, username, phone number, or address leaked before. But that's why healthcare organizations are held at such a high regard in terms of their cybersecurity practices that need to be in place.
Yeah.
Because they deal with PHI, which stands for, what's it stand for, Albert? Oh, yes. Not phishing health information. This one's totally different. And what can these people do with this information, Albert?
Oh, so many things.
Like?
They can steal your... they could try to steal identity with social security number.
Yes.
With, I don't know.
What else?
What else? What is this, a quiz?
They can potentially...
They could potentially what? Lots of things.
Have, schedule a doctor's appointment and get prescriptions for drugs that they don't need.
That's true. They could use your
name sell them.
To sell them or take them.
Or take them.
Or both. Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So there it is. 235,000 individuals. Yikes. At least they're mailing letters.
Through all that. Like, that's just so much.
Yeah, at least they're mailing net letters. That's an expensive mailing fee.
That would be.
So,
and an embarrassing letter to send.
Indeed. Well, on that note, we're going to end on a scary note, but, a good one.
But a good one. Halloween's coming. You should be scared.
Yeah, this is the Halloween special. So,
well, not quite. We have 2 weeks, but yes, sure.
It's the pre-Halloween special.
In the Halloween special, we should do the whole thing in this Dracula accents.
Ooh.
And
really, that's it for this week's wrap-up of your weekly healthcare news.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just end up sounding like the Count from Sesame Street. 1 breach, 2 breaches,
Anyways, I'm Matt Moneypenny.
And I'm Albert Bastelli.
Oh, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Bandage Podcast produced by eTactics.